This is an I Am Listening exclusive podcast.
If you preserve yourself, you preserve your family, you preserve your job, you preserve your friendship. And you have to do that sometimes. If you can do something for someone and it costs you nothing, why don't you? You should do it. It's something I wish I knew when I was sort of 18, 19, 20. I think it would have made me remove certain people from my life and look after others better.
You are listening to the Don't Be a Stranger podcast. On each episode, I'll be travelling across the UK to interview members of the general public anonymously on various topics that crop up in all of our lives. Psychological studies have even suggested that when in conversation with a stranger, they can actually reveal more information than to someone in their own social circle. So whilst I traipse across the UK in locations such as parks, cafes, seasides and high streets, you can sit back, relax and listen to the tales and perspectives of the members of our general public. Today's episode is about self-love. Marketing campaigns all around the world encourage us to look after ourselves. But how much do you really love yourself? We live in a rapidly evolving world where for some, it's often easier to self-criticise than to self-love. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced a time where you've looked in the mirror and pointed out your flaws and insecurities rather than your assets. Or maybe you've put others before yourself in a lot of situations. However big or small the love you have for yourself, I can guarantee you that someone else in this world is thinking or has experienced the exact same thing. Let's find out if the strangers that we meet on today's episode have got the right balance of self-appreciation in their lives and work out where the line is between self-love and loving others. This first interview was recorded on a busy high street outside London Bridge. This stranger shared with me how she teaches her child that she almost lost the importance of self-love.
I'm doing this on self-love, this episode. So if I asked you a very bold question of how much do you love yourself, what would you say?
A fair amount. I think I've loved myself more since I've become a parent. Probably at the start, I didn't take very good care of myself. I didn't value myself, not in any sort of particular way. You know, I know I'm a human being. I'm a woman. You know, I have great parents. I have wonderful sisters, and I know I'm important to a lot of people. But it never really dawned on me that I should be important to myself. Little things, you know, making sure you get enough sleep, making sure that your mental health is priority. I used to allow people to not manipulate per se, but make me feel bad into doing more for them. Things that didn't really cost me anything, but did cost me time, energy. Maybe I'd have to put some things that I wanted aside in order to do something for them. And I always did. And I didn't realise the impact until long after. And I thought those were the times really I should have been concentrating on myself, you know, helping a friend, you know, get their thesis in order when mine was not in order. It's good to be kind and to put other people, you know, sometimes before you, but not always.
Yeah, that's one of the questions that I've got, is something that I probably am still battling with. It's like, where is the line where you're putting yourself first or putting other people's first? And there's quite a fine line between loving yourself and being selfish sometimes, or feeling like you're being selfish. I feel like, is that something you've experienced before then?
Oh, most definitely. And people will tell you, you know, oh, but you can do that. Well, yes, I could. But if I give you 3 hours of my 6 hours availability, that means that I won't be able to do what I need to do. And then I may have to ask for additional time, which makes me look lazy when that's not the case. I did have the time. And you've kind of forced me into giving you my time so I don't look bad. But sometimes it doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter what other people are judging you on. You know, you have to say, I'm really sorry. If you consider it to be selfish, then consider it that way. But I need to prioritise my time and myself.
When you said that you've probably found that you've loved yourself more where you've been a parent, are there any examples other than that you can think of, like how it has, being a parent has helped you love yourself more?
Yes, I had quite serious prenatal depression. So before I gave birth, I was heavily depressed. There was some complications, and the midwifery team had told me that my baby had died, and I just sort of had to wait to give birth to a stillborn baby, and it didn't happen. And it was only a 1-week period, but that was quite devastating.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, so when I had my daughter, I realised that I wasn't well, and it was really difficult to have conversations with people, to say, I'm not capable, I need help, I don't feel safe, and I don't think she feels safe, even though she can't express it herself. And that was something that it took me months to realise that I have to say, I need help, and I'm going to go away now, and I'm going to recover, because if I don't recover, there is no help for my daughter. And what is left for me to carry on being mentally ill, unable to cope, perhaps neglecting her without meaning to. But when you're ill, you can't see what's happening around you. Your behaviour seems reasonable, but I knew it wasn't reasonable. And a few of my friends, in some ways, I don't think they necessarily believe in postpartum and pre-partum depression. And they were, they almost, I don't know if that was their intention, but they made me feel like I was almost having time away from my child when I was under the care of a physician, and I was on medication in order to get my chemical imbalance back on track. And I had to be selfish at that point, because yes, this is my child and I'm their mother, but there are people who are better suited at that time to safeguard us both. And that's what I had to do. My mother had to safeguard my child from me and safeguard me from myself. And I was able to get the treatment I needed, and it wasn't that long. Once I was on medication, I actually started to feel better, and then I started to realise how long it kind of went not picked up by anyone. And if you don't care about yourself enough to say, I need this and I need it now, I don't know what would have happened. You hear horror stories of people who are so unwell, they harm themselves or their children. And I feel, if people could understand that sometimes, it's okay, all the time it's okay to say, I'm not coping, and I need to sleep, and I need to eat, and I need to have a shower. And you may judge me for it, but you will find a better parent, a cleaner parent for certain, and someone who is some semblance of who they were before. And I'm trying to teach them that, and to teach my children that as well. I am your parent, but if you don't want to do something, say I don't want to do it, and then tell me why. If it's something that I can understand, if it's something that's reasonable, you do not have to do it. You can have the choice. Of course, not about education, then you have to go to school every day, but other things, you do have a choice. You just have to be able to say, this is what I want, this is why I want it, and this is why it's necessary. And if you can get those 3 points across, I think most people will agree to whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and you soon realise it's not actually selfish at all.
No, it's not. I tend to find people who are considered selfish are looking out for number one. And ultimately, if you are not looking out for number one, you cannot look out for anyone else. If you preserve yourself, you preserve your family, you preserve your job, you preserve your friendship. And you have to do that sometimes. I'm not saying all the time. If you can do something for someone and it costs you nothing, why don't you? You should do it. But if it is going to cost you something and it's negative and you've weighed it, and on balance, it's too much of a cost, then you have to say no, thank you. I think that's the hardest sentence a lot of people find, saying no, thank you.
It doesn't mean that you're unkind or anything, but you can tell that you've come a long way with it, for sure.
Most definitely, and you have to. It's something I wish I knew when I was sort of 18, 19, 20. I think it would have made me remove certain people from my life and look after others better. You tend to rely on the ones that are helping you, and then you're helping others, but you never help the ones that are helping you, because they never ask, and they're the ones you should, monitor.
What an amazing woman with such a powerful message. Let's move over to the next stranger. Now, have you ever had something that you were told as a child remain stuck in your head to this day? Well, this next stranger definitely has, and he told me the reason why he doesn't love himself.
A cousin of mine was a full-blast narcissist. He once, when I was about 17, informed me that everybody needed a hero and he admired himself intensely. And consequently, I've always taken the attitude that if you think too much of yourself, you're going to be a little out of consistency with the rest of human society. Probably not very good company either.
It's interesting how stuff that you can get told when you're younger really impacts you throughout your whole life, isn't it?
Very often people say it's a very difficult thing getting over any kind of childhood, and the worse it is, the longer it takes to get over it, I expect.
So obviously you can acknowledge it at least. Has there been things that you've done to try and practice self-love in your life?
Well, I don't really see the point of it. Philosophically, I take the attitude that I am what I am, and that's it. So what other people think is entirely up to them.
I think the importance, though, is like how you feel within, and then that's how people see you on the outside. That's my view anyway.
Well, I'm usually pretty content being myself. I take the attitude that there's certain things that I wish I'd achieved, and if I didn't get as far as I wanted, at least I got some of the way, which is more than other people did. It's a relative universe, so not really that much point of kicking up all that much of a fuss.
Yeah. What sort of stuff did you want to achieve, or have you achieved then?
I'd say the biggest disappointment in my life was shortly after I discovered the previous existence of dinosaurs, and I decided from the age of 8 or 9 that I wanted to be a paleontologist.
Oh, wow, okay.
I was told that if I worked hard in primary school and got to grammar school, that would be possible. And then when I got to boys' grammar school, I found it was the only grammar school in the country that didn't teach biology. So
you're kidding. That's so unlucky.
My career was not going to happen. And when I begged my father to let me change to the next grammar school in line, he refused point blank because he was a miser and he didn't want me to have to fork out for bus fares. So there was that. Later on, the two things that I decided I liked the idea of being would be black belt in karate and a black belt in aikido. Unfortunately, I had to put my father first at certain points, and then later on, when I was married, I had to put my wife and her career first, and I got up to a brown belt. I can say that I have fought black belts and beaten some of them, and I also put my head through lumps of wood that some of them the black belts couldn't break with their hands. I'd like to have got a little further in various activities like that, but...
Do you think that not putting yourself first at points in life has impacted that, or are you sort of glad with the decisions where you've always prioritised your dad, your wife, for example? Are you sort of content with that?
Well, if I'd been ruthless, I would have said, goodbye for now, dear, I'm off to Japan. I'll come back in a couple of years' time as an angel of destruction. Yeah. But... as I said, you have to put other people first at times, and in my particular case, it was a choice I made more often than some would make, so perhaps I've got a few heavenly plus points for that.
I met this next stranger at Brighton's Pier, where she was at a stand for a loneliness charity that she works for called Together Co. I took her details and she very kindly let me interview her on a later date via Zoom. Let's hear how she incorporates self-love into her daily routine. If you had one piece of advice that you could tell the younger version of you, what would you say to her?
If I think about the younger self, I was, and I still am, I'm not saying, it's sorted, but I am and have been so tough on myself. I hold myself to such high expectations. If I get something wrong, I would really beat myself up for it. Be like, why have you done that? You're not good enough. I have, really worked on that part of me to kind of have more an acceptance and know that I'm enough. So I'd love to go back. And I'm thinking like little me as well, just say, and for all of us to just say, we're enough. Like we really are enough. I can't say, I'm not about to say everyone. I constantly am like, I'm not good enough. It's not okay. Like there's this part, and I'm sure many of us have that part. So just try and meet that part with kindness to say that, you know what, you're really trying, and actually you are okay as you are. Because I think that's the chatter of the world around us. Like You're not tall enough. You're not short enough. You're not, pretty enough. You're not slim enough. You're not, all of this stuff. Actually, we are just who we are as an individual, unique human being with gifts. And it's just, we all need to just do a bit of kindness meditation to ourselves to be able to go out and be kinder to others as well.
And I feel like everyone is having this similar, not everyone, but majority of people are probably having or have had these doubts at some point in their lives as well. I definitely have. It sounds like you have too. Yeah. And it's sometimes very easy to think it is just you having these thoughts, but most people are.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd like to find somebody in my, who I haven't spoken to, who hasn't gone, there's been times I've not thought I'm good enough.
Yes, I'm still yet to meet someone.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just I remember listening to this, she's this world-renowned therapist. She's worked with celebrities and all sorts and big companies and stuff. And the summary of her talk all the way through, so I watched 6 series, I think, is tell yourself you're enough. And actually, a lot of her high-paying clients, one of the techniques she'd get them to do is get a lipstick or something on a mirror and write on the mirrors you see yourself in, most days, I am enough. And just look at that every day and start internalizing that. And that's where she saw the biggest shift in how people were feeling. So there we go. You've got all of those years of therapy, and that was the biggest message.
Yeah. Have you ever tried it? Have you ever tried it yourself? I've seen videos like this, maybe not the same therapist, but have you tried this technique before?
So I've not, I'm going to be honest with you, because of where I live in quite a busy household. I've not done it on mirrors because they're all shared. I journal. Journaling for me is really important. And I have really explored I am enough kind of in my journaling process. So I do my morning pages, where you just sit at the start of the day, get up, don't look at your phone and just write for 20 minutes. And a lot of stuff has come out before in my morning pages around I'm enough. Why am I not enough? And a few years ago, I also was quite into poetry and writing poems around that as well. So I'd done a few things around some sort of writing and versing on being enough. So I think everyone can do it in their own way. For some people, they might like to put it on the mirror, sticky notes and things. But for me, it worked to journal.
And it's interesting following the journey to see how you would feel after a month. Maybe I'll try it, because you have to sort of rewire your brain to think that. But you can, and it's doable.
So just to add on that as well, so I'm studying a master's in positive psychology and coaching psychology. And part of that is that we had to do some interventions on ourselves. So we get tested on our baseline first of our positive emotion levels and things like that. And then you do an intervention and then you test afterwards. And, in terms of doing things like the journaling and things like that, and I was saying about my best future self. And I also did one around taking 10 photographs of things that are meaningful to me, and then writing up why they are. And I did that for a series of a few weeks. And then 3 things I'm grateful for at night. My baseline scores of my levels of positive emotion and my feeling of meaning in my life doubled within 3 weeks. And I really felt it as well. I was oh my gosh. And by doing some of these activities in the morning with the journaling, I really had lots more energy throughout my day. And the gratitude one, which I've kept doing, that's the one I have kept doing. So I say 3 things that I'm grateful for, but literally before I fall asleep. It actually helps me fall asleep. So honestly, they are really impactful.
Let's now find out if a German tourist in the London's West End truly does love himself. If I just start off with asking, what are you doing here in London today?
I'm visiting for the weekend because I'm studying musical theatre in Berlin. So it's kind of a little dream to come to the West End and see some shows and get the vibe of this musical scene. I thought I know a little bit about the big city life, because Berlin is also, the capital of Germany, but London is so different and so open-minded. I got overwhelmed by the people here, just smiling, and there were, if you have a question, everyone wants to answer you, and in Berlin no one wants to answer you and just look away. And yes, so
I have a friend in Berlin, actually.
Okay.
He said he loves it there, though. Apparently the nightlife's amazing, going out, partying.
It's meant to be good.
I came in while Corona to Berlin, so everything was shut down, and I have no time to party.
So if I asked you, how much do you love yourself? Do you know what you would say to that?
Oh, I think I really love myself, but I think it's because of my faith. I'm Christian, and I think this helps a lot in this job, in this profession. Everyone is judging you just by the looks, the work on stage. I think the first impression is how you look. I mean, if you have a look on musicals on stage, everyone is skinny, everyone is
Skillin or
no,
muscly.
Yes. And I think it's hard if you don't have from your birth this look and this form. So it's hard to love yourself, I think, in this profession. But I think my faith helps. I also had friends, they told me also how skinny I am and how white I looked, and I think I thought about it, and it felt not so good, but I think it's because I was not surrounded by the right people at that time. So if you're not happy, you have to move on. And where the door closes, another door always opens. I think this is my sentence.
Yes.
If a door closes, another door always opens, but you have maybe to wait. You do not see it right away.
Sometimes when you're in that moment and everything's going and you feel that you're not in the right circle or in the right place, it can feel like no door is going to open again, but you're right. When one closes, another one does always open. It's very good advice. I will stop that there.
When I first went up to this stranger, one of the first things he said to me was that he doesn't actually speak very good English, and he took French at school for his language. But it's amazing because even though we don't share the same first language, he still can give such good advice that I'm sure a lot of people can understand and relate to. Let's get to our final stranger on today's episode and take a look at this lady's journey into finding self-love.
So if I asked you, how much do you love yourself? What would you say?
It needs some work, but I'm sort of working on it. I mean, today is literally a self-care day. That's why I'm going to see Phantom of the Opera. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go into London. Not very confident with that. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I do a lot of stuff around body positivity around my Instagram. I sort of surround myself very positive, very sort of accepting people, and I love it. It's got a way to go. But I would say that I love myself maybe about 80%.
I think that's pretty good. And I think everyone has their ups and downs, to be honest. And I think I would wish I could be a person that's 100%, but I'm definitely not there. How important do you think self-care is? Obviously, you said that you do stuff around body positivity on your Instagram. So how important do you think self-care is?
It is very important. And we live in a time where mental health is very, very, it's taken more seriously now, but it is still a very serious topic. And the way to sort of getting that and becoming healthy and sort of just happy existing is through self-love and just accepting that people can make mistakes and look a bit different, and it's all a good thing.
So you said that you're on a self-care day today and you're not normally very confident going out on your own. So how has that made you feel out here in London doing that?
Honestly, I was really nervous when I was going on the train. I was at the train station. I was like, oh my goodness. As soon as I got on the train, I thought, I'm fine. I walked around London, which is usually quite nerve-wracking for me just because there's so many people. I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to take my time. I'm just going to, keep it slow, not rush anywhere, and just sort of mill around Trafalgar Square, which is what I'm doing right now. I've been successful so far.
Have you ever heard the phrase, you have to love yourself in order to love someone else? How do you feel about that? What's your opinion on that phrase?
I sort of think it's halfway true. You can love someone else while not being mega confident in yourself, but it is a lot easier.
there's always sort of in relationships the second guessing element, like, oh, is this person going to accept me, or is this person going to find me attractive? Because I've been in a few relationships at various stages, and it's a lot easier because it's just coexisting rather than, oh, is this person approving of me? So I'd say it's sort of halfway. It also depends on the relationship, you know. Yeah.
Would you say that like an image of yourself has ever impacted any of your previous relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I'm plus size. A lot of people have been sort of ashamed of me before, like, oh, I'm just going to keep you a secret. And I've just gone, why? Why are you with me if I'm such a shameful thing? It's like, what's the point of that? So I just went and I found some people who really accepted me and loved me for who I am. And I was like, oh, that's great. Maybe I do deserve, and I went on a whole journey and now I'm with an amazing person.
I feel like that's a reflection on the partner or the ex-partner that you were with. If you had one piece of advice that you could tell the younger version of yourself, so this is more about you, it doesn't have to be about relationships, anything you would tell yourself, do you know what it would be?
Yes, I would say it is okay to remove yourself from the situation. If someone is hurting you, if something isn't quite agreeing with how your mental state is at the time, you can remove yourself from that conversation, that situation, that place. And it is not, you can do that, you're allowed to do that. It's not impolite or you're not a bad person for doing it. You just go if you need to.
Where you said on your Instagram you focus a lot on self-love, how do you think that's impacted other people and how has that helped yourself?
Well, honestly, a lot of people sort of come up to me who recognise me because I do mostly stuff in the vintage community, and other plus size ladies and sort of younger women and non-binary people have come up to me and said thank you so much for, I mean, I don't do it for gratitude, but it's just they saw me being confident and wearing feminine clothes, like, and they've gone, that made me feel a lot better in myself. And you putting yourself out there was like, oh, well, she's fine, but I look like her, so why am I so harsh on myself? And it's sort of given them that introspection, which was so unpredictable. Like, I was like, why? Oh, okay. I don't do it for the gratitude. I just do it because I like to create, like, I'm sort of an artist. I like to curate my image online and show everyone my outfits and sort of exist in that space where I can just sort of control what I'm doing. But it's so nice, like, when people come up to me and go, I was you, and then, you inspired me to be a bit more confident in myself. You got big boobs, it's fine, It's just those self-insecurities, like, it's not such a big deal once you sort of think about it. It's just, you have the power to change that.
I swear it's Dove that are doing loads of advertisement on it at the moment about younger girls in particular using filters. Yeah. So I guess you're sort of trying to break that from happening as well.
I mean, I do a bit of editing in my pictures, but I'm getting around to sort of being confident without the filters. I mean, for years I was like, I have to edit everything about myself, but most of the time I just sort of clean up if my scarf's a little wonky or something. And a lot of people in my space don't use filters at all, and I just think it's so nice to see, because the beauty standards of like today, I can't imagine what it's like for younger women and younger people. It's just
unobtainable. Like, even when I put a filter on, I feel incredible, and then I put the normal camera on my face or look in the mirror and I'm like, yeah.
It's like, it always really slims my face, like, and it's like, no one looks like that, like, not people that I know.
And it would be a scary world if everyone did look like the filters, because I think that's the magic in the world, is that everyone does look so different, and I love that about people in the world, and I think it'd be scary if we all had the same look.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I see people around and people who dress different, people who have different hair colours, and I just think that's so great. I love that so much.
What this episode has shown me is that no matter who you are, where you come from, how old you are, what your upbringing was like and what you look like, everybody has got insecurities. It's literally part of human nature. And it's the people who have actually pushed through, stopped trying to change for others, and surrounded themselves by the right people and actually embrace their differences, who can truly sit there and say that they do love themselves. To me, self-love is about knowing your own value and self-worth, and that is how you can love yourself regardless of who loves you. To see more content and advice from the strangers that I meet along the way, make sure to follow Don't Be a Stranger podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and check out our website, don'tbeastranger.co.uk. Thank you all so much for listening, and I'll catch you on next week's episode.
This has been an I Am Listening original podcast. For more information, head over to our website at im-listening.co.uk.